Yeah, hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So in this particular episode, I will be explaining about few of the interview questions from types of flows. Okay, so it will be a very important, episode. Okay, so don't miss, each and every questions remains very important. Okay, so if you know thoroughly about, concept, types of flow, then you can skip. But I strongly suggest you to watch till the end so that you can't miss any sort of a single question. And I will be saying how we can answer to these particular questions as well, and how we can impress to the particular interview. Okay, all right. So before jumping into this today's episode, so I'm humbly requesting you that if you haven't subscribed to my channel, right, so please do subscribe so that I can gain some sort of motivation from you by hitting the subscribe button so that I can create more content on this particular Pega related stuff. Okay, so I'm the only one who creates Pega content on daily basis. Okay, so that's why it will be very useful for us in order to enhance our Pega skills to crack the interviews. Okay, right, perfect. So let's jumping on to this today's session. So first, the topic is on the first question, types of flows. Okay, so if they ask about like types of flows, then you can just simply, there are two flows available in the Pega. One is screen flow, second one is process flow. That's it. Okay, so in that, if they ask more details about types of flows, can you describe about each and every flow, then you can say that particular answers. Okay, I will be covering into that later part. We have a dedicated question for that as well. But here in this particular, the question was types of flows. That's it. Okay, the answer would be here. There are two type of flows available in the Pega. One is screen flow, second one is process flow. That's it. Perfect. The second one. Okay, so how to create a screen flow from a case lifecycle? Okay, now how can we create screen flow from the case lifecycle? Right. So from the case lifecycle, they asked, right? So let me, yeah. So this is nothing more about one type of a one case lifecycle. Okay, for this CWR life. Okay, now over here, so these are nothing but process, right? So these are nothing but steps. Okay, right. So this is one of the stages we have, right? So directly, for suppose this is nothing but what, directly if you click on this particular three dots, now you will be having what, add process. So this one, we will be having a new process, we will be having a new multi-step form. Multi-step form nothing but screen flow, new process nothing but what, one kind of a process flow we can say. Okay, so this is the one way. And the second way would be directly you can click on this particular thing. Okay, farm step, and this is nothing but what, step, that is nothing but what, process flow. Okay, so farm step is nothing but what, screen flow. Step is nothing but what, process flow. Okay, so in this way, these are the two ways which you can create flows. Either it may be a screen flow or process flow from the case lifecycle. Okay, second question also completed. Third one, how to identify the types of flows from case lifecycle and as well as a flow rule. Now how can we identify? Okay, the identification, as I said, from the case lifecycle, if it is a form step, that is nothing but screen flow. If it is a step, that is nothing but a process flow. Okay, right. Now moving on to the second in that particular. So how to identify from the flow rule? So this is nothing but a flow rule, right? Now how can we identify? Okay, so in this I will be explaining about the differences as well. I will be covering the differences as well. Okay, so that the next question would be what difference between screen flow and process flow. That is the fourth question, right? So the fourth question and as well as third B. Okay, third year completed. Third B I will be covering simultaneously. Right. So the how to identify and what are the differences between screen flow and as well as process flow. The first one. So this is nothing but what, screen flow, right? Now how can we identify? So first you just go to the design tab. In the design tab you will be having a category. Oh, why it's not moving? Yeah, so this is a design tab. In this category, in the design tab category, we will be having a screen flow. Okay, so over here, if I open this particular one of the flow rules we have available. So this is nothing but what, flow standard. So flow standard is nothing but what, process flow and screen flow. Obviously this is screen flow. Okay, so this is the first identification. The second identification would be, this is start shape, connector, assignments, end shape. Okay, right. If I double click on the start shape, okay, the harness is available at the start shape. Okay, this is the second identification and as well as second difference. But in the process flow, Okay, the harness is available on every assignment shape. Okay, if you just double click on the assignment over here, we will be having assignment details. In the assignment details, you will be having this particular thing, that is nothing but harness. Okay, that means in a simple words, for the screen flow, the harness is only available in the start shape. Okay, that means, so this is nothing but a complete a flow rule, right? So whatever the assignments we have, okay, which contains the same harness, that means, customization of the harness is not possible within the screen flow. Okay, so once we configure, that's it. Okay, the whole harness will be applicable for all the assignment shapes which we have available at this particular flow. And coming to the process, for each assignment shape, we can easily customize the harness. Okay, so the why, because for every assignment we will be having an option called harness to change that one. Okay, so this is the second identification I can say. And the third identification would be, yeah, so the flow rule will be invoked at this is nothing but a screen flow, right? Obviously at the this thing assignment. Okay, but in the process flow, the flow rule, the flow action rule need to be configured, need to be invoked from the connector. Okay, so this is the third identification or third difference. And the fourth would be, if I just double click on this, okay, now we will be having a routing option. The routing option is only available at the start shape. Okay, but in the process flow, the routing option is available for every assignment. If I just double click on the assignment, now you will be having a routing option. Okay, for every assignment you will be having a routing option. So in simple words, I can say that the routing option, or else the routing, okay, is not possible within the screen flow. Once we configure at the start shape, that's it. Okay, that means, in simplified language, in the layman language, if I am working on a particular screens, on a particular flow, on a particular case instance, only I need to complete those particular things. That's it. Okay, in between routing option is not possible. Why? Because I started this case. Okay, if manager creates a case, that means manager need to submit that particular case. Why? Because routing option, manager to me or manager to user, is not possible within the screen flow. But in the process flow, for every assignment, we will be having a routing option. So in any of the stages, in any of the process, okay, in any of the assignments, if you want to route to particular thing, okay, either work basket or work list, or what it may be, okay, you can very well do. Okay, so that is the fourth differences which we can see. And the fifth would be, okay, while we are performing screen flow, right? Okay, here we can easily navigate from first screen to second. Okay, we will be having that options to navigate from one screen to another, but in process flow, by defaultly, it is not there. Okay, if you want to configure this particular functionality, then we need to do some more configurations within the process flow. Okay, which leads to some sort of complex, but in screen flow, by default, Pega creates for us. Okay, right. And the another thing is another which one? Yeah, I think everything is completed. Yeah. And fourth, I can say that if we just double click on the connector, right, we don't have any sort of this thing. Okay, but in screen flow, oh, where is my mouse? Yeah. So, oh, it is not working. Just a sec. The mouse is not working. Okay, right. So good. Okay, so that is the differences actually. Okay, let me check another thing. Yeah, that's it. I think. Yeah, that's it. Okay, and there are in the within the screen flow, there will be having a few other options as well. Okay, so which you can term it as a differences. Okay, I will be covering in the later questions actually in this particular episode. All right, and the sixth question will be, yeah, sorry, fifth question would be, user must submit all the required fields to move to the next screen and so on. How to achieve in screen flow? Okay, so he's asking, like, user need to submit the required fields. For suppose, uh, here I'm at the collect step. Okay, collect UI screen. Okay, so without entering or without filling this full name, I should not go to this particular review. Okay, without filling this particular py name, I should not move to the this stage. Okay, so this is the requirement. Okay, that means by defaultly I can't move to the review screen until I fill the required details. Okay, that is the asked question. Now how can we achieve? Simply, so now we will be having an option called, for every assignment we will be having option called only allow navigating back to the step. Okay, for if I configure this thing, now what will happen? Let's check. If I just simply save, perfect. Oh, again I need to, okay, no props. See here, okay, it is disabled. Okay, if I entered something, if I put continue, then only I will get this particular thing so that I can navigate to the back screen. Okay, again if I need to back to the review screen, right, again I need to enter something and I need to click on the continue. Okay, if I need to jump onto the testing, no, we cannot. Okay, we already entered something. If I want to continue, then only we can go. Okay, back, obviously it is possible. Okay, so this is a requirement completed. Sixth one, I need to commit the user details all at once. Okay, for suppose the requirement is, let me sorry, this is not, let me remove all these things. Okay. Mm, 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 mm. Fine. So the asked question is, okay, again I need to create. Okay, I'm creating lots of cases. Okay, perfect. So by defaultly, Pega, here we will be having a three screens, right? Okay. So for suppose if I am entering some dummy data, okay, if I am continuing, okay, for every screen, okay, for every screen, if I put the some if I click on the continue, the database interaction will be one time. Okay, if I am entering something and if I am click on the continue, the database interaction would be third time. If I click something and if I click on submit, then the database interaction will be three times. That means if I have some 100 screens, 100 UI screens, that means that the database hitting will be what? 100 times. Okay, so this will again impact on the, or else it will create a impact on the some performance as well. Okay, so in order to reduce that one, so the user the interviewer is asking about, I need to commit the data, whatever the user data is there, right, only at the last step. How can we do that? Okay, so that I can limit the database interaction from 3 to 1, isn't it? Okay, so all at once, the first stage, the first UI screen, second UI screen, third user data is there, right? All at once I will commit at the last step. That is nothing but what? Testing step. Okay, now how can we do that? Okay, so this is the question actually. Okay, simply we will be having an option called, in the start shape we will be have option called save on last step. Okay, so if you click on that one, right, so what will happen means the commit operation will happens only at the last stage. If we are at some 10th step, okay, for suppose if you're having 10 stages, 10 UI screens, okay, 10 tabs we can say. Okay, so after entering everything, right, only at the 10th step only, 10th US screen only, it will say all at once. Okay, so it will commit all at once. Okay, rather hitting 9 times to the DB, which unnecessarily creates lots of discrepancies. Okay, so this is the asked question. And the seventh one would be how to create screen flow manually. Okay, how to create a screen flow manually, that is the asked question. Okay, yeah. So while describing the third and fourth question, right, so I said some sort of differences, another thing differences as there, right? Okay, let me show you. Yeah, so this particular flow rule, right, screen flow is created from the case lifecycle. Okay, case lifecycle, and concentrate on the harness. Okay, harness type, this is nothing but use case type policy. Okay, for suppose if I am creating a various process flow from the tradition. Okay, from the tradition. Now how can you create flow in a tradition way? Okay, for suppose if you're some testing already there, right, some pass something, whatever. Okay, so how can you create? Okay, if I just create like this, right? Okay, by default what it is in the flow standard. Okay, by default it is in the flow standard. Okay, now how can we do that? How can you create a screen flow then? Okay, in a manual way. Okay, it's not an automated way, not from here. Okay, they are asking from in the manual way, like in the traditional way. How can you create? Simply, okay, we will be having a process, we will be having a flow, right? But suppose if you type some testing sample kind of thing. So over here, we will be having an option called view additional configuration options. So in that, you will be having a screen flow. Okay, standard template for screen flow. If I just create and open, if you go to this, oh, where it went. Okay, let me refresh this thing. Process, flow, and testing sample. And if I go to the design tab over here, you will be having screen flow. That's it. Okay, so by default, Pega will create a standard flow that is nothing but process flow. In order to create in a manual way, simply you can have that view additional options. Okay, in that you can click that option called screen flow. You can very well create from that. All right. And eighth one would be I need to allow the errors in the first screen and I need to validate at the last stage. Okay. For suppose if I have some validations at the first stage. Okay. In the first stage, in the first UI screen itself, I don't want to put the errors. Okay. At the last step only, as soon as I enter, right, the validation need to be triggered. Okay, the errors need to display. Okay, but in the first screen, if I have some validations for the full name, okay, if I click on the continue, I should not get any sort of error. Only while we enter in the last stage, last UI screen, then only I should get I should get all those errors. Now how can we achieve that? Simply uh, we will be having this option, right? Okay, this is nothing but a screen flow. In the start shape, you will be having an option called save on last step. So in the save on option, you will be having this allow errors. That's it. Okay, so if you just click on that, right, so what will happen means even if you have some sort of errors in the full name in the first screen and simultaneously in the second screen, okay, as soon as you enter into the last stage, here it is having a 3. Okay, you may be having some 5, 10, 15 like that. Okay, so after entering in the last UI screen, right, then only you will be getting that particular error. Okay, so with this you can limit those errors and you can show all at once actually. Okay, so I don't think so this is a good UX. Okay, but Pega creates that. Maybe some sort of use case scenarios might be there, so that's why. Okay, I particularly don't like this particular option. Okay, and can we add spin-off option in the screen flow? Okay, so this is the common question. So you see here, let me refresh this thing. Okay, so let me drop down. Yeah, so I'm adding a sub process. In the sub process, obviously we will be having an option called spin-off. Okay, so over here, do we have any sort of spin-off option? All right, we don't have any sort of spin-off option. Okay, but in the process flow, drop down. If I click on the sub process, obviously we will be having an option called spin-off. Okay, that means the answer is no. Why? Because routing is not possible, right? So how can we do that? Yeah, perfect. And the 10th one, can I change the flow once I created? Okay, once I created, can I change the flow? No. For suppose I created this one, I saved. If I go to the design tab, can I change the flow type? No. It's in a disabled state. That is nothing but read only. Okay, we can't able to modify like this. Okay, so these are the 10 questions actually which you can expect these type of questions with respect to the types of flows. Okay, so if they ask more about the a generic question like why Pega introduced this screen flow, already we have a process flow. Okay, or else in your project where you have used this screen flow and why you haven't used this process flow? Why? Because process flow doesn't support much uh, this advanced shapes, right? See, automations only few only there, right? But over here, if I just go to this particular thing, here we will be having a number of automation, number of advanced shapes. Okay, but even though why you gone for the screen flow and in which scenario you use that? Okay, this is a common question. Okay, you might be expecting. Right, first one. So first, why Pega introduced the screen flow? Why? Because see here, Pega created Pega introduced this because, see here, we will be easily navigating from one screen to another screen. That means if we have a bulk data, if we have a huge data, if we have a complex scenarios, complex data that need to capture, only for the capturing purpose, if you want to allow, if you want to capturing, if you are capturing bulk data from the user or whatever it may be. Okay. So in order to store, right? So if we just allow them to only at particular UI, right? So it's created lots of discrepancies and UX would be very, very, very bad. Okay. And in order to handle all these things, right? So again, performance issue will be there. Okay. So in order to limit those, right? In order to make look good and feel and as well as good UX. Okay. So that's why Pega introduced in order to capture the bulk data. Okay. The screen flow has been introduced so that we can have multiple assignment shapes, multiple screens, and you can have the probability to move from or navigate from one screen to another. Okay. So in my project, you can say like that. Okay. In my project, so as we are into insurance, for suppose as you are into insurance project, okay, so we need to collect the user data, okay, user basic details, advanced details, and some other additional documents as well. Okay, user need to submit all these things, so that's why we created screen flow so that they have the probability to move from one screen to the other screen. Okay, so once if they miss something to add some thought, okay, or else if they want to add some sort of middle name, or if they want to edit some sort of mobile number or somewhat, okay, if they want to modify, if they add some other extra field, or if they misplace something, okay, we need to provide some sort of a user probability to go back to that particular the respective stage or step or UI screen, and they have the probability to change that. Okay, so that's why we have used that screen flow instead of process flow. Okay, so in this way you can convince to the interview. Okay, so these are the few interview questions that you can expect. Okay, so right, this is today's episode. Okay, if you like this content, so please hit like and subscribe to our channel so that uh, I can get some more motivation from you, and as well as for you, you don't miss any sort of updates from me. All right, yeah, happy Pega, happy learning, and take care. Bye bye.